Chapter 33, The Truth About Sergeant Martin Anthony Ventura. I made it outside to the courtyard trash can in time to throw up the cobbler before I choked on it. I was weak and shivering, never mind the August heat. I had to sit before I fell. The cement bench was baking hot, and it burned through my jeans. My father had made all those people happy with his music. He had saved his buddy Raj. How does that same person kill himself a week before I was born? Now I wish he really had run off with Hannah. Anything would be better than what my mother said he had done. It made no sense. She was sitting with me now, wiping my chin with a napkin, rubbing my back. Renzo, sweetheart, I know. I was the same way when I found out. Why? I said, why did he do it? There was a last letter, she said, the one I never gave you. I'll show it to you in a few days when everything calms down. Tell me now, I said. Tell me what he said. You'll need to be steady to read it, to be prepared the way I wasn't. I can't even think about it sometimes. I can't not think about it. We'll read it together with Double when he comes home. For a long time I blamed myself. There were signs, after all, warnings. My mother on her deathbed said, that man is beautiful and he is so very good, but he needs watching. He's got the rain in his eyes. What does that mean? I said. The sadness, my mom said. You see it in other people sometimes, even when they're smiling and making you crack up with a good story or hooting along with a song. They're thinking, yes, this is fun, this life, and lovely too lovely, but not for everybody. For some it's hard, the world, cold in the way it's set up, the way we all suffer through at times on the sharp end of somebody else's greed or of our own. It's bittersweet, the living, right? I was so mad, Renz, I still am, in my more vulnerable moments. Why couldn't he come home to me for help? Didn't he trust that I would listen, that I would have stayed right along beside him, gotten him the right doctor, the right medicine? Her phone buzzed. Oh, no, please, Lord, she said, fishing it in her back pocket. They said he'd be in surgery for another 3 hours. My stomach tightened until I saw the relief in her face. Pal again, she said. She offered me her phone. You better call her. She's all caps and exclamation points at this point. I'll call her when I get home, I said. I took another napkin from my mother and wiped the sweat out of my eyes, except new sweat dribbled in. I better get back to Marty and Bella. They were freaked out when we left. Lorenzo Ventura, can you ever forgive me? I knew I had to tell you sooner or later, but I kept thinking let it be later. Double said you could handle it. From the looks of you, he was right. You're strong, Renz. Double lied to me, I said. He told me Dad's smile was just plain true. It was, Renz. He was. That's why I didn't tell you. I close my eyes and do my best to imagine being in his place, seeing the things he had seen, doing the things he had to do. I still have trouble getting there, but it's the only way I come a little closer to understanding, to forgiving him, to forgiving myself for not being able to quit being angry with him. I worked so hard to find gratitude for the time we had together, but I backslide all the time. All the time. Now it made sense when Mason said, wait, say that again, when he was on the phone with his buddy at the VA. The friend must have pulled my dad's file and told Mason that Sergeant Martin Anthony Ventura died by his own hand. Even John Mason, a stranger, knew about my father before I did. I just wish you would have told me sooner, Mom. When? She said. On your 5th birthday, your 10th, yesterday? Would you have been able to make sense of it then? The last 12 years, a day doesn't pass when I wonder about it. The same thing you'll keep wondering now. How could somebody that beautiful do something that ugly? Her phone buzzed with another text. She read, Mom, I keep trying the home phone, no luck. Do you know where he is? I'm begging you. Make Renzo call me. This is a 911. I took my mother's phone to a shady corner. I swear my eyes were going to pop with the glare. Chapter 34, The Non-Emergency. Pal answered her phone on the first ring. Mom. Pal, it's me. What's up? Renz, it doesn't sound like you. What's the emergency? Is everything okay? She said. Fine. I almost told her about Double and Marty and even my dad, but why? She couldn't fix any of it. The safe place didn't exist anymore. Renz, I'm in serious trouble. It's awful. I didn't get the part, the lead role for the summer finale. They gave it to this girl who's twice as stuck up as that one from the Jamboree. Remember the one who called you Fat Boy? Believe it or not, I do remember. They have me playing second fiddle to the likes of her. But you still got a part, right? Renz, it's like 3 scenes. This is my life. I can't get the good parts in summer camp. How am I ever going to... Pal, that's not serious trouble, okay? That's not even trouble. Wow, she said. Okay, so much for coming to you for a little compassion. Are you kidding? I said. I've been waiting night after night for you to call. That's because you don't have your own phone, you stupid jerk. I can't even text you. The only way I can get you is the home phone, and I'm up at 5 to be on time for classes all morning, and then it's straight through with rehearsals and performances until midnight. You think I'm going to call the house phone and wake Mom and Double? If you only knew what I'm going through. Well, I'll never know, either, will I? It isn't always about you, okay? While you're up there in dreamland, I'm down here dealing with stuff too. Real stuff. Renz, this isn't you being mean like this. What stuff? Tell me. I've never heard you so upset. Pal, I'm really sorry, but I have to go. I clicked off and brought the phone back to Mom. Is she okay? She said. I nodded. Call me as soon as Double gets out of surgery. Of course, Mom said. She did her best not to look worn out. She stood tall and pulled on my hair a little. But Mop. I know, I said. Hey, you. It'll be all right. I was so sick of hearing that. What people really meant was, it's rotten, but you'll learn to live with it. Mom, do I have it, too? Do I have the rain in my eyes? She brushed my hair back from my forehead. No, she said, you're my sunshine. You know how you can tell when somebody's lying to you, except maybe they don't know they are? Like that. Chapter 35. My heart is a drum. I saw from the driveway that Marty was waiting for me at the window. When I went into the house, Belle stayed back a little, tail between her legs. Marty crawled to me. I pulled him into me, then Bella too. It's okay, you two. Everything's going to be all right. Now I was the liar. They followed me into the kitchen, Marty sniffling and oinking. The floor groaned underneath him. I filled their bowls with water and poured myself a glass. I opened the freezer door and stood in front of it and let the cold air fall down my back while I watched them drink. The letter. The last one. The one my mother never gave me. I went upstairs to her room, to her closet. She kept a few clothes, but boxes full of papers about Maple Clutch, going all the way back to the beginning. Receipts and handwritten sales reports, insurance stuff. It took me an hour to go through it all, but there was no letter. Her bookcase. It was 2 shelves, and they were mostly agricultural books. I saw thin folds of paper between them here and there, church pamphlets, a half-size magazine advertising riding mowers, her student Bible. There it was, tucked into Psalms. It was written on the same light blue paper he had used to write me. There was a CD in there, too. The label said, An Hour with Marty Ventura, and the university station's call sign, the date going back 15 years. I read the letter. I don't think I breathed once the whole time. I read it again. I read it again. And again. It was bad. It was awful. It was worse than Mom could have been thinking. I wanted never to have read it. I wanted to forget it. I had to. I balled it up and squeezed it so tight, like doing that would crush the sadness in it, the horror, until it was a small pointy stone in my palm. My legs were shaky. I sat on Mom's bed. I stared at the CD, at the Bible pages that hid the letter. My mother had underlined part of the 98th Psalm. Let the sea resound and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. Let the rivers clap their hands. Let the mountains sing together for joy. I took the CD with me. Marty and Bella were waiting for me at the bottom of the stairs. They followed me to my room, to the shrine I had built for my father. I took out the paint-spattered CD player and put the disc in. And then I lay back on my broken bed with Marty and Bella close to me, and I listened. Very quickly, 2 things came to me. First, the rain wasn't just in my father's eyes. It was in his voice, too. A gentle, soft, sadness rain. In the letter, he wrote about music, the magic in it, how it was like surfing. He described his heart as broken, and here it was. Second, my father was flat out amazing. He had that thing Pal had, like he would sing the same if nobody was listening. Meanwhile, he was singing to the universe. He sang songs I'd never heard of, songs he must have written, except they didn't sound written. They sounded like when you're talking to your best friend on the way home from school and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she remembers something. She says something that's so cool you'll hope you remember it until you get to the house, so you can write it down in your journal. Everyday amazing things like, the wind has that poor bird flying. My father sang, he wore second-hand boots, of necessity sure, but he didn't mind sharing broken souls more. Or did he mean broken S-O-U-L-S instead of broke in S-O-L-E-S? I would never know. Hearing his voice for the first time, it busted me up, because I'd never hear it again. I could listen to that CD over and over, and I would, but I would never hear him for real. I'd never hear him say the words he meant only for me, like if we were at the kitchen table one night, the way he promised in his letters we would be. After dinner, just messing around with the guitar, him teaching me a new chord. He would have said, there you go, Renz, just like that. Or try it this way, feels better now, doesn't it? No, I'd never hear those words or any like them, only in my dreams. Except I don't think I was brave enough to dream of him anymore. The CD ended. I climbed over Belle and Marty to get out of bed. They followed me to the corner behind the front door, where we kept the umbrellas, where I'd left my father's guitar the day Pal went away for camp. The guitar had become dusty. I brought it to the couch and looked over every bit of it, and it was new to me after hearing my dad's voice. I really saw him playing it now. I felt weird holding it, kind of like it was a sacred thing. I didn't feel pure enough, knowing I could never play it as well as he did, could never get my fingers quite the way he'd gotten to his to tickle those notes out of that old Gibson's neck, to strum up that hum from its belly. His hands were here. His hands that stopped bleeding, pushed air into lungs, and kept hearts pumping. Fingers that checked pulses at the wrist, the throat, the index finger that pulled the trigger. I wiped the dust from the back of the guitar with my t-shirt, and Church whispered the inscription. You can strum me sure, you can pick me too, but when you drum me pure, my heart comes through. My heart is a drum. I laid my father's guitar across my knees, and I tapped the belly with my fingers. I felt nothing. I drummed it with my palms, and then drummed harder and harder and faster, and then a lot faster, and the wood started heating up. The lacquer was almost hot, and my hands were going numb, and I started to hear it, this very deep tone getting caught up in the strings. They were ringing now, and twinging and twanging, and then buzzing, a moan rising to a howl, and then just like he promised, there it was. The music, the true heart of it, the brokenness in it, except it wasn't the guitar, it was me. I felt a wetness on my cheek, and I opened my eyes, and there was Marty, his big old runny snout in my face. He nudged the guitar away and rested his giant head on my knee. He wailed. His tail wiggled fast, so fast to shake the couch. Marty, I said, what are we going to do about you, boy? He looked up from where he had buried his head in my lap. His big brown eyes were peering into me. And the thing about Marty's eyes, there was never any rain in them.